Consultation. My name is Christina Jimenez, and I am a board-certified family law attorney practicing here in the state of Texas with Jimenez Law Firm. And so we are here today to talk to you about what we look at or what we look for when we are interviewing future paralegals to come in and join our firm. And here today with me, I have my best paralegals in the world. I think I have the best team in the world, but these three are freaking amazing. They've been with me for a very, very long time. And so introduce yourselves, ladies.
Hello, my name is Nydeline Villarreal. I'm a paralegal here, and I've been here for 5 years.
Hi, my name is Corina Montoya. I have been with the firm for 14 years now, and I'm a board-certified paralegal in family law.
Gretchen?
My name is Greta, and I've been a paralegal with Ms. Jimenez for 11 years this year.
Very good. Awesome. And so, recently we have been interviewing paralegals, and we've actually been very blessed to hire a couple of new paralegals. And so when we were thinking about a topic that we wanted to discuss today, we thought, well, that's kind of a cool topic to talk about the characteristics or the attributes that we're looking for when we are interviewing a paralegal to come onto our firm, because we feel like if you're going to be a paralegal in family law, these are the things that you have to kind of have and be able to do in order to be successful, because we have had a lot of paralegals that didn't want to do it, couldn't do it. They didn't want it. I mean, it's a lot. I think that this area of law in general, it's a whole different level of stress and issues that you deal with as opposed to maybe some sort of transactional law or, probate, things of that nature. And so, my favorite thing to tell people all the time is that I don't hire for experience, I hire for character, right? And so most of these things that you're going to hear about today really has to do more with like character and rather than, how many years you've done this, because that's great, but if you don't have the right personality, you're probably not going to find success on our team. And so with that being said, I guess we're going to start with 0 because we had a 1, but then we decided we needed to have a 0 with 3 exclamation points, and that is accountability. And so who wants to talk about that?
So I think accountability is super important because there's a lot that can go wrong in our cases, and I think it's really important to be honest. There's times that we're going to mess up and make mistakes. No one's perfect. We're all human, and if you can talk to the attorneys, if you can let them know, look, this happened. That's huge because it can make or break the case. Right. And so being honest is very, very important. And just fessing up. It could be as simple as, I don't know, I didn't save an exhibit to the file, or as big as I didn't file something that could, that could impact the case negatively. So.
And I was actually talking to CJ about that earlier. I was telling her it's so important that we can have that open and honest communication with one another, because if I were to lie to her about something that didn't get or that I said got filed and never got filed, and then she shows up to the hearing and it's not filed, like it could significantly impact the outcome of the case. So
Yeah, I mean, I will say, as the attorney, there is rarely something that any of you guys can do or that I can do that is beyond repair, right? So long as I know about it quickly, right? Most of the time when you guys, and I get these calls, probably once a day from someone on my team of, hey, I screwed up. And it's like, okay, what'd you do, right? I probably make that call once a day to one of them or to Floyd, like, hey, kind of screwed this thing up. And so when we have that ability to hold ourselves accountable, then what happens is we got a rescue team coming in, right, to say, okay, we just had this happen a few weeks ago where there was a mistake that was made, and we all kind of got on a call together, like, okay, how do we fix this? There has to be a solution to this. And because you guys hold yourselves accountable, because we hold ourselves accountable to one another, we're not alone, right? And when we're together, we can figure this thing out. We're better to our clients, and our services are just overall better, right? I'll say for me, like the one thing that I do not deal with, like at all, is when people lie to me. I guess that goes into the context of accountability, right? I don't know. I mean, I've had to let some people go before, but really the only reason that I did is because I felt like it was an integrity and an accountability issue, right? I can deal with mistakes, right? People are going to make mistakes. We are not cyborgs. We are humans. We have our own personal issues. We get tired. We miss things, right? But as long as you can fess up and be like, hey, just realized I did this. What do I need to do to fix it? Then it's easy breezy. But I also feel like it has to, like with Floyd and not Floyd, with me, I feel like I do my best to not get on to you guys or not be ugly to you guys. I will say that was not always the case.
Yeah.
Karina and Gretchen, they know it was the case.
We were here at the very beginning of things, so things were a little bit different.
Way
But
back.
I will say a lot of growth has happened.
A lot.
A lot of
A
growth.
lot.
On
Yes.
both sides.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Right? Oh, because it wasn't pretty in the beginning.
Yeah.
And I guess, talking to younger attorneys and maybe younger attorneys that have paralegals. When I started, the kind of, I guess the way that I was taught and the things that I saw, it was like, I'm the boss and I'm in charge and you're just the paralegal and you just have to listen to me. And I mean, sometimes it was just ugly. I'm going to apologize on the record for being an asshole.
Accept it. Accept your apology.
It's the first step. But I thought that that's what I needed to do in order to control things, and I don't know what I thought, what I don't know. But you don't have to be that way, because I think now we have a much more like healthy relationship where I trust you guys, you trust me, you can come to me and say like, here I did this, and know like, okay, she's probably not going to be happy about it, but she's going to help me figure it out, right? And that's the type of relationship that you want with your paralegal, because otherwise, if they're scared to death of you, they're going to do stuff, they're not going to tell you about it, and you're going to walk into that courtroom and have your ass handed to you, and then want to blame them when it may be just a leadership issue, right? So accountability is huge. It's good. It's huge for us together, but also to our clients, right? Like owning our mistakes with our clients, being honest with our clients, and just having that open communication.
Right.
I was gonna say that. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say that about you earlier, ma'am. I feel like you're always very honest with clients. Like you're not gonna want to hear this, but
All the time, like twice a day.
Yes.
But yeah, I mean, we have to be. So.
Right. And I was going to say that I think it's a disservice to our clients when we are not accountable to the attorney, to our clients, to just ourselves. We have to just be honest and accountable when it comes to these mistakes, because again, like you were saying, we're human, we're going to make mistakes, but if we can catch it in time, if we can remedy the situation, then sometimes they're not effective at all.
right.
So yeah, super important.
Well, and even during like a consultation, I will, when I'm explaining kind of the board certification and what all that stuff means, and that I'm basically a badass. I will tell people. But I will tell people, listen, just because we have this certifications, just because I've been doing this for so long, it doesn't mean that I don't make mistakes, because I do. I do every single day. But what I can tell you is if I make those mistakes, I'm going to be honest about those mistakes, and I'm going to figure out a way to fix it, right? And any attorney that comes to you that says, oh, I just don't do that, or oh, I'm going to win this case, or I'm the best, and this and that, don't walk out of that office, because they're full of crap, right? You need somebody who is going to be accountable to you. So, the second, or the number one thing, that was 0, we're now on 1, is the ability to be empathetic and to have compassion. So, what do you guys have to say about that?
I think that's super important, because if you can't look at somebody's situation and kind of put yourself in their shoes, I mean, obviously maybe you don't fully understand, but if you can't, empathize with them and see where they are, then you can't really do a good job for them. You can't really help them. Because if you don't care, you're not going to try hard and you're not going to do your very best.
Yeah, and I think just advocating for the client is just so important. You know, you have to. Sometimes we put ourselves in their shoes, but it also helps with having like the mentality or the experience that we have, because we look at it from a different perspective. It's not always emotional, but we do feel for them. We of course want them to have the best outcome. We want the best for the children. And so I think that's super important as well.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I mean, as paralegals, I can't say the number of times that you guys have had to come in and advocate for your clients to us, right? Because you're the ones taking those phone calls, you're the ones having those conversations and listening to, you know, the crying and the, you know, just everything that they're going through. And because you have that empathy, you stop us down and you say, like, listen, I need you to look at this case, I need you to talk to this client, there's something major going on and we need to get ahead of this, right? And I've had, you know, I've had attorneys tell me, I've had, you know, some paralegals, not at our firm, but other firms that will say, like, they've just reached a point where they just don't care. Like, I don't care, I don't give a shit, that's what they say. And when I hear attorneys and or paralegals in this area of law saying that, I say, you gotta get out. Because what we're dealing with in these specific set of issues, it's too big to not care, right? I mean, we're talking about people's children, we're talking about people's future, we're talking about their livelihood, their freedom in some cases, and if you're just not gonna lose any sleep at night over this stuff, then you probably don't need to be doing this, because you have to have an immense amount of empathy and compassion for these people, because they're in it. Man, sometimes they're in it, and man, sometimes it's like, I need you to get out of it, please, because it's a lot, it's heavy. But I think that's what makes us so great as a firm, honestly, right? Is that we do care, we do, you know, stay up late working on things, we do wake up early, and if we didn't care about our people, about our clients, we wouldn't do that.
Right.
We do the bare minimum.
Yeah, I think that's huge too. It's just caring, wanting to help them, wanting to help them out of the situation, to the best of our ability. Because, yeah, sometimes they're just like in the, I guess, worst position of their lives, and if we can help a little bit, then I think it makes a world of a difference.
Yep.
And there's also a disconnect. I feel like if you're not empathetic or compassionate to your clients, I feel like that could definitely drive a wedge in the relationship and ultimately just affect the outcome of the case. If they just don't feel like you care, or you know, you're not putting forth your best efforts, they're probably just like, you know, like they're not gonna put forth their best efforts either, and they're not showing up as their best self either.
Right. Well, because they don't trust you, right? I think that that's a lot of this. I mean, sometimes, especially during an initial client meeting, I don't say anything. Like, I'm just listening and letting them kind of unload and telling me their story, because I think that that's kind of that first step of building that trust, right? And showing to them, like, I am empathetic, I am compassionate, I do understand your situation. You're not just going to be another client. You have things that are only relevant to you that you need me to hear, and I'm cool with that, right? And so if you're not going to be empathetic, then you do not need to be a family law paralegal or attorney. You need to go into some other area, because it's just too big.
Yeah, there's too much at stake.
So the second thing that we did, and really this should probably be like at the very bottom of the list, but we'll go with it. Number 2 was experience. So I do think experience matters, right?
I think in certain law firms it is important, but I think in some, you know, maybe smaller firms, you know, where they have more time, I don't think it's, you know, like a, I don't know, priority number 1.
But you're a big, I want an experience.
I am now, right? Like, so what, maybe 5 years ago wasn't that big of a deal. But now I don't have
Exhibit
time.
A.
That's right.
This version of myself, this version needs experience. I just don't have time. I have so much going on with my cases that I don't have time to train like I would love to.
But it's funny because when all three of you guys started, none of y'all had any experience
None.
at all.
The
At all.
democracy.
But I also think it's not just experience. I guess like what we're trying to say is you don't necessarily need just education.
Right.
You know, I think a lot of what we learn is by experience. So it was really tough. You know, we went to school, Greta and I went to the same school, same program.
Yep.
And when we got out and we got into the field, we were not sure where to start. We weren't sure what to do.
Very
at all. And so once we got in it, we were able to I guess formulate our own our ways, the way that we want to manage our cases and things of that nature. But it's just really tough to come in just from school.
Well, I mean, it
So
was
hard.
literally when y'all started. It was the blind leading the blind. I was like, I don't know what's a paralegal supposed to do.
So when
Can you figure this out?
So when you said the number of years, it's not the biggest deal. You know, I've been in this for 14 years. The first part of my job, I wasn't even sure what I was doing.
Same.
I was, we were in survival mode. We were trying to figure things out, come up with systems, and we were messing up, and then thinking, okay, how do we avoid that?
Yes.
How do we, avoid that from, I guess, happening in the future, and coming up with the systems? And that was all Miss Jimenez. We're gonna come up
It
with,
was all of us.
SOP.
Everybody hated the SOP. Like, shit, here we go, SOPs.
Rules and responsibilities.
Yes, it was terrible, but it helped.
No, it helped
I mean,
100%.
It did help.
Yeah.
But it's kind of interesting because now you guys have all of this experience that I firmly believe that y'all could go to any firm and like straighten it up. Like, I mean, y'all could walk in and be consultants and say, like, as paralegals, this is what y'all should be doing, and y'all don't do everything the same.
No. We all three of us are very different.
Yeah.
Everything.
Yeah, and the way y'all systems, the way you stay on top of things, the way you communicate with clients, but y'all have all figured out how to find success with, your systems, and y'all have developed them, right?
Right.
I think experience is important, but when I look at y'all, I'm kind of like, well, I mean, y'all did it.
But we were a different firm back then.
Right, and I guess that's what I'm talking about though.
Yeah.
Like when it comes to experience, it's almost like we're not saying don't go to school.
Right.
But if you can learn the trade, like if you could learn how to be a paralegal, I feel like that would just put you in a different position than going to school, coming out, and then believing that I've learned all of this information and now I know how to do things. No, it wasn't that simple.
No.
And I don't know about how education is now, right? Because this was 14 years ago.
Yeah.
And so maybe now, you went through a different program, so maybe it was a little bit different. But just as far as what I did, it didn't help me that much, honestly.
No, I was terrified. I really was. Because I think what they taught us was law. They taught us law. They didn't teach us case management, time management. They didn't go into pleadings, what they are, why you file them, how to maintain an organized file. So much of what we do, attorney support, communication with the clients, opposing counsel, the court, we didn't have any of that. And the things that they emphasized were not important at all.
Yeah. And I mean, so going back to now, we're a different firm than what we were 5, even 10 or even 5 years ago. We're at this point, we're dealing with very complex cases, highly contentious cases. We have very serious things going on, and so we prefer to have paralegals with experience because y'all's time is very precious and y'all are very devoted to your clients, and y'all want to make sure that y'all are handling your stuff, and so training is always difficult for us, right? So it is nice, but it kind of just depends. And going back to, what you're saying, like sometimes we've had people who were just admins. And I think you started off as an intern and then an admin.
Right.
And then what happened? Like one day I was just like, you're a paralegal now.
No.
I just decided that.
No, there was a paralegal position that opened up, and I wasn't even sure I wanted to fill that position. And you were like, you can do this, and I was like, no, I can't, because I don't have that much experience, and I don't know how to manage cases. And so at the time I was scanning documents and answering the phone, and that was pretty much it. Taking messages. And so from there, that's when I filled that position of being a paralegal, and then I just hit the ground running.
Yes,
Figured it out. It was a few years, and honestly, when Greta came in, and at the time we were still pretty unorganized. And then all of us started helping come up with the systems, but it was also an overload of cases, and at the time we just had so much going on, right? And so we weren't selective, weren't as selective as we should have been, and we learned that with time. So
I think the other thing that helped a lot was that when we would pinpoint something that wasn't working, and we would sit down, because we knew your time is very, very valuable, and that you didn't want to just hear problems, you wanted to hear solutions. And so we would sit down and we would be like, okay, this is not working. What can we do? Yeah, what are we going to do to fix it? And so we would come up with, different ways, and then we would bring it to you. And then we would all come and we would all sit down at the table and talk about it and figure out the best solution to that problem. And I really think that was the tipping point to get to where we are today, and the organization that we have in our day to day.
Yeah, it was literally even as simple as redecorating the office.
Yes.
Like if we thought that the office needed to, just to freshen up, and we wanted it to smell good, we would literally redecorate the entire office, make it smell good, make it our area, and we were like, all right, let's get to work. And then we started to realize that those things were really important. It wasn't just the work itself. It was your environment, just all those things. Systems we'd come up with, I don't know, we printed out these homework packets or, forms that we'd hand the client to make things easier for them to provide information. At the time we were at the office, so we would just say, okay, you're going to fill out this paperwork and we're going to get this information, just right off the bat, instead of waiting to the end of the case, because we started to realize, okay, at the end of the case, we're missing all this information, or things that we should have already had in the file we're missing. And so all those things we started getting just from the beginning of the case.
Well, and I will say that we still, even to this day, as much as we have grown and as great as we do, we have we use Slack, and we have this channel that's called Team Efficiency Meeting, and every single person on our team can go in and say, hey, here's where we dropped the ball. Like, here's something that we feel like we need to improve on. Here's a complaint that we received. And every week we go through that meeting, and, Corina will, put something on there and say, okay, Corina, what happened? Like, talk to me about this. And then she'll tell me, like, this is, what I heard, or here's an issue that I've identified. And my thing is, you bring me a problem, bring me a solution, right? And so she's like, I think that we need to do this, right? Or I have these ideas, and then we start bouncing off of one another, and now we're a team of 16, and so there's literally 16 of us talking about it and saying this is how we're going to solve it, right? But I think that with all of our experience over all these years, it's been very helpful, and I'm excited because we've hired some new paralegals that have a whole bunch of experience, and so I'm like eager to learn from them what they know from working for these other firms and these other attorneys, because I'm sure they have a lot of experience to bring to the table. So I think it's good. It's obviously good. So the next thing that we had, number 3, was education, and so. You said y'all went through the paralegal program, and then you have a bachelor's.
Yes, ma'am.
In what?
Criminology.
Did you want to be a paralegal?
No, not initially. No.
Today.
I
I'm still weighing my options.
Like, as a matter of fact, consider this.
No, not me. And so, what happened? Like, how did you decide to come here?
Yes, so initially my plans were to go to law school, and so you took the chance on me and hired me as an admin. I remember I was so nervous for the interview, and I was just so angry, I was overwhelmed with the idea of working at a law firm, but thankfully everything worked out. I got hired as an admin, and then honestly, after seeing how all of this works behind the scenes and seeing you guys do what y'all do, I was like, no, I honestly don't know if I could be an attorney, and I don't know if that's what I would want to do long term. So, and I'm like, I'm 100% happy with being behind the scenes and still making a difference in my own way. So
yeah, absolutely.
That's how it happened for me. And well, initially, I was an admin, and then one day he said, "You're a paralegal."
I very much have these sink or swim mentality, and so you're gonna do this. I'm not my drown, but don't worry, I'll save you, and then I'll throw you back in. But y'all did the paralegal program.
She did it first, and then I was like, what? Maybe 3-4 years behind you?
I think so.
Yeah, something like that. And I mean, same instructors, same curriculum. And I thought I was prepared.
No, me too.
I did.
And I loved our instructor.
Yes,
I mean,
she was wonderful.
all of that. That's one thing is they teach us, I guess, several aspects or different law, torts, things like that I guess we just don't apply now, right? Or we just don't apply in what we do day to day. So maybe those things help in those other types of law, but just in family law, a lot of what we learned just from the books, it wasn't as helpful as I think I wish it would have been. Because again, it was all about procedures and things like that I think would have helped us to manage cases and communication and writing and things like that I think we needed more.
Well, and I'll say it's the same way in law school. And that's the thing that why it was such a cluster when you guys came. I like to keep pointing out. Because in law school, they don't teach us how to run a law practice. Actually, there's a class called Law Practice Management that doesn't really teach you how to run a law practice. And so a lot of this has just been, trial by fire, right? Things happen and we're like, what do we do? How do we figure this out? And I tell people all the time that I feel like I'm so blessed to have you guys and to have Wood and to have Catherine and the admins, have everybody, because I don't have to figure things out on my own anymore, right? And when you have good people that you trust, that have your best interest at heart, that are gonna have your back, they come to you and they tell you, hey, you're screwing this up. You need to fix this. And this is, the way you said this, you shouldn't have said it. Each one of you guys have called me to the carpet on the different times, right? And that was part of my personal development and my growth, right? But nobody taught me how to do any of this. I guess you guys taught me how to do this stuff, but they didn't teach me this in my education, right? I learned how to research. I learned how to argue and write a brief and those sort of things, but nothing about being a leader, being a boss.
But I also, how you're saying, I think it also comes with you allowing, right? Us all to voice our opinions and come up with, just different ways to fix things, or just hearing us out even. That's a huge deal, because there's some people that are just set in their ways and they say, oh no, it's my way or the highway, or I learned how to do this and it's worked and I feel comfortable with it being this way, and we're non-complacent. So that's a huge component too.
Yeah. And so you guys not only had y'all's education coming into this, but we still do an annual CLE. So we do advanced family law every single year. We take all of our paralegals there. We go to San Antonio for a week. My favorite bonding time as a team, because we spend a lot of time with one another. we're learning new things, we're talking about new things, we're figuring out things that maybe we hadn't been doing right, we figure out ways to do things better. And going back to the non-complacency, right? We're constantly trying to evolve and grow and figure things out. And I feel like the only way that you can do that is through education, right? And seeking it out and having the ability to say, like, I don't know everything. Like, I'm making mistakes. I need to keep learning and keep growing. And if you don't have that mentality coming into this firm of, I'm ready to continue my education, you're probably not going to do well here, because we just don't. If you've peaked, then you can go peak someplace else. So, like bye. But we're all still growing, even after freaking all these years of doing this. So next thing that we talk about, or our fourth, I guess, tip, whatever you want to call it, is communication. So what do y'all think about communication?
Oh, it's so big. I mean, I think it's one of the main things that we do. We have to learn to effectively communicate with our clients, the court, opposing counsel, you guys, each other. And if you don't have that, there's going to be breakdowns all over the place.
Yeah. And I guess we probably should have done like communication / emotional intelligence, because I think that's such a huge component of how you communicate with people, right? Because I can say things to Corina in a certain way that I couldn't approach it Greta, I couldn't approach Nydeline that way. I can say things to certain clients that I can't say to another. If there's certain ways that I can approach Floyd that I may not be able to approach Julie, right? But having that ability to communicate and to be effective in your communication is, I mean, we can't do it, right?
No.
We couldn't do this if we weren't able to do that. I mean, I guess, and talk about some of the difficult things that we have to deal with when we're talking to some of these clients, and just all the issues that they're going through, just having the ability to listen and to pull them off that ledge. I mean, it's a lot.
Sometimes just and I guess not necessarily simple, but sometimes just the case or the hearing being continued. That's a huge deal, because some people just want their day in court. They just want to be heard. They just want this all to come to, some sort of resolution. And when that doesn't happen time and time again, sometimes it's continued once, two, twice, three times. And sometimes it's to no fault of our own, right? Or theirs, or the other side, or the court. It can be several factors, or different factors. But sometimes just explaining that to them is just heartbreaking, because they're ready to get it over with, and we understand, but that conversation can be sometimes difficult with our clients, for sure.
And sometimes, I mean, we get yelled at.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And so, I mean, I tell people all the time, especially on our team, because they'll call them like, this person was a jerk, right? They were ugly. And I try to explain to people that our clients are not bad people. They're just going through a really bad time, and we gotta afford them a little bit of grace. Now, sometimes our clients are bad people, but most of the time they're not. They're in it. And so being able to kind of receive that and understand, okay, this isn't directed at me, it's directed at the situation, and being able to talk them down and to get them to, number one, you're gonna respect me because I'm here, we're together, we're on the same team, you're gonna respect me, but I hear you and I hear your frustration, and this is how I'm going to help you, right? And I'm one of those that if you are not nice to my people, then you're not going to have me as your lawyer, because I just don't deal with that at all. Because you gotta take care of your people, right? So you guys, I think, are great communicators, and I think that we kind of have to hold our clients accountable to that as well. So the next thing that we're looking for when we're looking for a good quality paralegal is attention to detail. Why is that important?
Because sometimes the big things are the little things, and you have to know how to kind of read something that may look, I don't know, plain and simple, but it's not. It could be the thing that makes or breaks, and that's so huge.
Or sometimes just a word that's thrown into a pleading
Yes.
or
A
an
simple
order.
word. Just a
And
simple
you're like,
word.
you miss it the first time, you come back and you're like, hold on, right? Like,
Like the difference between an and an or.
Or.
Like, shit. What is it?
A shall and a may.
Yes.
How many times have we seen that? You know, there's the other attorney drafts an order and just throws in a may,
Right.
and it's like that should be a shall.
But and so the way that we do things at our firm is the paralegals do all the drafting, right? And so the preliminary draft, orders, pleadings, like everything, you guys do it, but it has to be approved by an attorney before we send it out. And you know, going back to y'all's experience and y'all's education, that's something that's so lovely about having you guys on our team is that when we get these things, there's hardly any errors, right? It's mostly, and it's funny to me because I love when other attorneys send us things and you guys go through and redline it like they screwed this up and they screwed that because y'all know, right? Like y'all know, but y'all do pay attention to detail. But it's not just in drafting, it's in like evidence and like organizing files and dealing with discovery and emails and documenting phone calls and, you know, taking messages and like everything matters.
Yes.
In our initial paralegal meetings, when we get the case, I often tell them at the very beginning, I'm going to interrupt you. I apologize, but I'm going to interrupt you because as we're talking, they're saying something that triggers, oh, hold on, I need you to back up. I need you to emphasize this. So give me more information on this detail because I know, such as, oh yeah, he came by and punched me in the face. Okay, hold on. You know, that's a detail that, okay, we may need to do a protective order. We may need to request extraordinary relief and, okay, give me some more. Has this happened before? Oh yeah, last week or 2 years or 1 year. And so, you know, those details are so important because that will tell us, okay, I know what I need to draft for them and have ready for them so that you guys, when you have your meeting with them, you know what's going on.
Right.
And I think that's where, going back to the experience, that is so helpful
Right.
because you guys now know after all these years, like Christina's gonna care about this, right?
Yes.
Lloyd's gonna be pissed about this. Like
Yes.
I don't know how many times a day where I get a call where y'all will call me and say like, hey, client just told me this and I think we need to do something, like, you know, what do we do, right? Like, should I file this? Should I file the protective order? Should I file a TRO? Because y'all know, right? And so, but yeah, the listening to the clients and we rely on you guys so heavily to relay that information to us, right? And if you guys are not paying attention to the details, we can miss something major.
Yes.
It's not good.
And also with court, local rules and things of that nature, like with how you file things, when you file it, deadlines, exhibits, prepping for trial, all of that is so important too because things could not be accepted, they could be kicked out. You can show up to court and say, you didn't bring me or you didn't send me a copy of your exhibits, I'm not accepting them today, or it's huge, it's a big deal, so detail.
And the thing is in this area of law, it's not like a contract. Well, I guess a contract may be a big deal, but you know, it's not something minor that where a kid could potentially go with a dangerous parent, right? Or where our client could lose their parental rights. Like you could miss something and fail to file an answer, and now all of a sudden, you know, our client, the mom moves to freaking Florida, and we have to figure out a way to get her back. All the little tiny things, they matter.
They do.
Yeah. So the next thing that y'all had here, number 6, was if you want to be a successful family law paralegal, you have to have the right personality.
Oh my gosh.
What is the right personality?
Looking at
I mean, I don't even know. Like, we've tried to, like, describe it. And I mean, because all 3 of us have very different personalities. But I think that we share, like, common core traits. Like, you know, we are, like, honest We are hardworking,
Mhm.
self-motivated. We hold each other accountable. We are accountable for our own actions. But you just have to have the right personality, because without it, you can't do it. And we've seen people with the wrong mindset, personality come in, try and not be able to do this. But we've also had paralegals come in and go into a different area of law and just flourish and just do
Or a different law
wonderful.
firm.
Yeah.
So, I mean, maybe, the right personality, I guess, that meshes well with us, with all of us. But I think a big trait is also just not taking things personal.
Right.
There's times where the attorneys will, it's just high stress, there's a lot going on. And I think you guys do a good job of, relaying information and communicating with us. But even, I guess, amongst ourselves too, not taking things personal, such as, like you were saying, keeping each other accountable. There's times where something will come through, and let's say I may not have something on the calendar, and Nydeline may say, "Hey, Corina, I saw this. It looks like it's not on the calendar yet." And I'll say, "Oh, you're right. You know what? I haven't added it just yet, or I missed it." I mean, because again, we're human. We make mistakes. So if we keep each other accountable, it's a lot. Again, it goes. I guess it goes better for the client as well.
For sure.
So, and then, like I was saying, not taking it personal, as in, why are you telling me, or who do you
That's
think
my
you
business.
are?
Right.
No, not at all. If anything, I always feel like they're looking out for me. I'm looking out for them. It's never with the mentality of, oh, I can do it better. Not at all. Like, if anything, we can all learn from each other.
Absolutely.
We try to have each other's backs, and
we're working toward a common goal.
exactly.
Right.
Or even thinking like, I was never taught those things, or the attorney's ignoring me. That is one of the biggest things that I think I've heard from several paralegals who have left us. Is they're not picking up my phone call. They're ignoring my text message. And now again we've come up with systems to help avoid those things, but it's not personal. Sometimes they're focused on one case, and it could be Greta's case, and Greta is, they're constantly calling Greta that day and that evening or that week, because it's a huge deal. And then the rest of it we're having to handle, the rest of the team will handle the other cases. But I think it's just not taking things personal. That's a huge deal.
I agree.
And I agree with that as far as clients go as well, because they can be harsh sometimes.
Yes.
So
Yes.
I had actually mentioned to CJ, like, one thing that's really helped me with that is keeping in my mind that people are only addressing you or speaking to you from their perception of their own reality. So, like, if they're having a bad day and they come talking to you, like, why did this not happen? Like, it's just because they've had a bad day, and then this happened on top of their bad day. So, you really can't expect more. So I try and, I feel like that's something I've had to work on personally, like working through those situations, because it can get hard.
It can. And they're not mad at us, they're mad at the situation. That's ultimately what it is. And sometimes it is hard not to take it personal.
Right.
There have been clients that it was a struggle for me. It really was. I would take it personal, and I would have to just bring myself down and just, okay, it's not me that they're frustrated with. It's really just the situation, the process, because they don't understand. They don't understand the litigation process, and they just get so upset. And they, of course, we're the outlet to them.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I don't know, like, I feel like our firm, it's a different, like, vibe. Like, and we've had so many paralegals that come in, and so many different attorneys that'll say, like, it's different. But we're very fast, and so I always say, talk about this. It was the autobiography of Steve Jobs that I read several years ago. They're always making fun of me because the books I read that I implement new policy. It's like, hey, I read this book. But it talks about like A players and B players, and I feel like we're all like A players. Like, we're very like type A personalities. We're very motivated. We get offended by people who don't want to be the best at what they're doing, right?
Yeah.
Right,
That
right.
drives me crazy.
Yeah, and so we don't really have like a tolerance for that type of mentality, and that's just going to be the vibe when you come here. And I know that there are other attorneys, there's other firms where that's okay. It's going to be acceptable. Like they're doing their thing, they're doing well, they're probably taking care of their clients, and it's going to work for them. It just doesn't work for us because I have very high expectations for myself. I have very high expectations for everyone on my team. And so if you're not able to kind of grasp that, and you don't want to like put in the effort, put in the work, have the energy, then it's probably not going to be, you're not the right personality for this firm.
Right.
You could probably still be a family law paralegal, but just maybe at a different firm, right? So, and y'all talked about this earlier about, having the right personality to deal with us, with the attorneys.
Yes. Yes.
And sometimes I think that's it, is you find another attorney that you're going to mesh well with, right? And you may just not mesh well with me. You may not mesh well with the energy that we have, and that's okay. I feel like everybody, they have a different environment in which they can grow. And I send them off with love, and I hope for great things for them. But I'm thinking, am I hard? I'm hard.
Not so much.
Pardon.
Just say it. Yes.
I mean, no, I honestly feel like you have really, like, I don't want to say calm down, but you have. I mean,
tired.
Maybe that's possible, but I guess maybe like you do hold us to a high standard, but I think we all hold ourselves to a high standard as well.
Right.
So I don't think that is hard. I mean, I think we're hard on ourselves. I don't know how to explain it.
Yeah, and I think you always have our best interests. Yes. That's like the basis for it all.
Right.
So I think that's why we don't take it so hard.
But here's the thing: when y'all made a mistake, like y'all are like so hard on yourselves. I'm just like, listen, it's gonna be okay. Like, stop beating yourself up.
I was gonna say that.
Yeah.
We're already like, you're already mad at yourself. You tell CJ like I messed up, and you're already expecting the worst. But for whatever reason, right? It's not like she's gonna yell at you or anything. But you're just like, it's just a disappointment. I think like in
it's
yourself.
Like you should know better. Yes. But some of these mistakes that we make, you feel like an amateur. You're just like, like an amateur. My finally got kicked back.
Oh my gosh, that's such a pet peeve.
You're like, for what? How dare they? It's like the rejected filing.
You don't reject me. Do you know who I am?
But I think that's why we don't take it so hard, is because we know that you're I guess you have our best interest at mind, and it's because you want the best for us and for our clients, and we all have that common goal. We have very similar core values, and so I think that's a huge deal too.
Yeah. So the next thing that we had is the ability to multitask.
Oh.
So Greta said this earlier, deep breaths, everyone. Greta said this earlier that I could not be a paralegal because I don't have the brain for it. I don't have the ability to multitask. I have to like zone in on one thing that I'm doing, and I'm gonna do great things with that one thing. But you guys, y'all are like,
We don't have a choice.
yes.
And I think working with 3 different attorneys right now,
You have
also,
to.
there's times where, Floyd says, hey, have you finished that order? Hey, have you added this language or the verbiage to this order? I'm waiting on it, right? And we're on the phone with Christina and a client, trying to draft an affidavit or draft a quick motion. And so I think it's very important, but it's also prioritizing. So that's a huge deal too, because not everything is a priority in that very moment. So
Remember
agree.
that chart that I showed y'all a few years ago, like the urgent and the important, and dividing it up into quadrant, and not everything that is urgent is actually important. You have to
Right.
kind of figure out, and y'all really, at this point, y'all do a very good job of saying, hey, I have this to do, this to do, and this to do. I'm gonna bump this to the top of the list, because if not, somebody's gonna get hurt. But y'all kind of at this point manage what y'all think is urgent and important, and y'all tell me, right?
And sometimes we
Boundary
even
queen.
ask you. Yeah, she's
Here.
the best.
Boundary
She's
queen.
like,
I will add that to my schedule.
For next Thursday. Okay. So I'm gonna call Greta. No boundary. Yes, ma'am.
He's like, I'll move things around, but not right now.
No, but it is important for y'all to be able, and this is, I guess, going back to the communication, right? Being able to, and y'all all, I'm joking, but y'all all do it, like being able to communicate to us and say, like, listen, I have 5 different things that I need to get accomplished today. Can't do them all. Tell me which one's the best, right? And which one's most important to you, and then I'll get that done. But multitasking all day. Y'all are
All day.
drafting, picking up calls, talking, emailing, and talking, like, it's a lot, guys.
Yes, it is.
All day, every day. But we've implemented systems, and I think that it has kind of helped you guys to manage a little bit of that. But I think, and maybe it's like that with any paralegal, you're gonna have to have that ability to switch back and forth and be quick
Yes.
to be able to like jump from one thing to another. I don't know how y'all do it. It's a lot.
Yeah, I think when you're in it and you're managing your cases and you know your cases very well and you have a good caseload and it's not overload of cases, it's an excessive amount, then you understand what's going on with each one, you know your clients, and I think that's a huge part of it also. Because if you have too much going on, you can't handle it, or at least handle it well.
So
You're just being reactive instead of proactive.
that was us back in the day.
Big
Oh
time.
my god.
Putting out fires left and
Oh
right.
my gosh.
It just
Yeah.
it's
Every
chaos.
day.
Yeah. Well, and I'll just say, kind of like deviating from this, but I get asked quite a bit from other attorneys, like, how do y'all do it? Like, how do you manage your caseload? Like, how do you have the team that you have? Because we're reaching that point where we're going into the medium-sized, like, larger firm, and one of the things that we have done several times, throughout the growth of this firm, is kind of just stepping back and figuring out, like, how do we do things differently? Like, how do we do it better? Like, how do we set up SOPs, standard operating procedures, and what are the roles and responsibilities, and and just kind of figuring out these ways to improve our overall efficiency to where you are multitasking, but you're able to kind of carve out time to deal with all the different things that you have to do. And it's still, like, every day it's a struggle and it's a growth. And so, and I guess that leads to the last thing, is just you have to be resilient.
Yes.
Yes.
And because every day we have battles. Sometimes I have 10 battles in a day. Yeah, you guys. And sometimes it's too heavy. Like, in this area of law, and I think that honestly, like, the paralegals that haven't stayed with us, I think that it was just heavy, and it was just a lot.
It is.
The subject matter by itself is, kind of depressing, right? I mean, it's like, yeah, we deal with horrible things that happen to really good people, that, I was in court today, and I'm directing my client, and my eyes teared up, because what he was dealing with was just not, it wasn't good, it wasn't right, it wasn't fair. So it gets heavy, and you have to have, like, the ability to push past that, and to wake up the next morning and say, okay, I'm gonna do it again, and so, yeah.
I think the things that help with that, though, are when, we do really good for people. And, the adoptions and the, getting children out of really, really bad situations and making sure this stay-at-home mom is going to be okay to, she's going to be able to be on her own and have a home and have what she needs to take care of her kids. And I think those moments help when it's so heavy.
Yeah.
Because that's what keeps me going.
Right.
Is when I can help somebody and I know that this very deserving person just got what they needed in this situation.
Right. Yeah. Or that dad. I think a lot of times when dads hire us, they expect the worst. Or I heard in Texas that I could never get custody of my son or my daughter, or even if the other party is in a bad situation at the time, or they're just having a hard time. And those times also, I don't know, I just really enjoy those cases as well, where some of these people don't even they can't even see their children, or they've never been able to meet them sometimes, and we go through genetic testing and things like that, and then they're finally able to get possession, and those things it's a big deal, because otherwise those kids would have never been in their lives. So that's a big deal too. So,
Yeah, I mean, I that's why I love closing meetings. I need to actually start letting y'all sit in on the closing meetings with your clients, because it's an evolution that occurs, right? Like, most of the time when we find people, we find them hopeless, right? That's why they're coming to us, because they have no hope, they have no idea of where to start, they have no idea what to do, but they're in a hopeless situation and they don't feel like they can find a way out. And to be able to give them the tools and the resources and the hope and the light at the end of the tunnel, and to show them, like, listen, this is where you were and now look at where you are, and to see the growth, right? And to see, them turn into this beautiful butterfly. Like, it's just like, it's amazing. And I feel like I was a part of that, right? Like, I helped you become a better version of yourself by doing what I do for a living, and that is just, it makes all the other BS kind of worth it, right? Yeah. So, with that being said, thank you guys for listening to the consultation. As we always say, please do not take this as any sort of legal advice. If you find yourself in a situation where you're having issues in family law, please find an attorney that you trust. Visit with that attorney, follow that attorney's advice, and make sure that you log into all of our social media platforms. We have TikTok, we have Instagram, we have Facebook, we have YouTube. Make sure that you like and follow and subscribe. And thank you guys for being here today.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Cute.